Om Jnanatirmirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
Giving up all kinds of obligations and has taken to the path in all seriousness owes neither duties nor obligations to the demigods, sages, general living entities, family members, humankind, or forefathers. Indeed, a devotee who surrenders himself to the lotus feet of Krishna does the best service to his family members, for Krishna automatically grants liberation to many generations of a pure devotee's family. Sri Srimad Bhagavatam 7:10-18. One should accept everything favorable for executing Krishna consciousness and reject everything unfavorable. What is a favorable situation for one devotee may not be suitable for another. In our home life, if our home life is not favorable for Krishna consciousness, we should make every effort to make it so by trying to induce our family members to take up devotional service. At least we can try to get them to tolerate and respect our practice of Krishna Bhakti. For those who are serious about Krishna consciousness but are obliged to live in a home full of non-devotees, we can only recommend that they keep peace as much as possible without compromising their principles. Often such family members are actually good people in the ordinary moral sense, but we cannot expect that all will be fortunate enough to understand the paramount importance of Krishna consciousness. Quite often, with patience and diligence, a devotee is gradually able to turn apathetic or inimical family members towards devotional service. In situations where, despite all efforts, family members remain rigidly inimical towards Krishna consciousness, leaving home to take up service of Krishna full time is an alternative that should be seriously considered and discussed with senior responsible devotees. A person whose main concern is Krishna consciousness, even he is entrapped in household life, should always be ready to leave household enticement as soon as possible. Srimad Bhagavatam 3:23-49 purport. Generally, however, it is not recommended that men with wives and dependent children suddenly leave home. But those who are over 50 years old or younger men who are still unmarried should seriously consider leaving home to join the association of devotees and thus practice Krishna consciousness full time. There is no need for them to unnecessarily spend all their lives at home like ordinary materialistic men. Vedic authority says that householders must leave home after the age of 50. Srimad Bhagavatam 3:24-35. One thing is certain, no one should give up his precious discovery of Krishna consciousness under any circumstance, however difficult. Krishna takes special care of those who serve him under adverse conditions. We should be determined to remain Krishna conscious, even if our family members and friends don't understand us, even if the whole world is against us. If Krishna is on our side, we have nothing to lose or fear. His Holiness Bhakti Vikasa Swami Maharaj ki.
So to the question, the question is how to deal with family members who are not supportive of our Krishna consciousness or who are against it. So some overview has been given in this book, A Beginner's Guide to Krishna Consciousness, which has just been read out. Some basic ideas, but actually it's not that I can sit down here and say something and all your problems will vanish. It's not going to happen like that. Nor is there any one formula. Not all shoes fit all sizes. There's some saying like that. People have different characteristics and they need different advice. You see, to one person, their family may be inimical and they may preach to them very strongly, and their family may change. And someone else preaches very strongly to their family, and the family just becomes worse and worse and worse. Or someone may not have the relationship with his family that he preaches to them strongly. Their whole mode of dealing has always been very respectful and quiet and polite. So one shoe doesn't fit all sizes. That's the saying. So it will depend. Some families who are very much against, they later turn to be devotees. I've seen that many times. Years ago, one young man in Baroda became a devotee. His parents came in, they were shouting, they were screaming. They said they were going to call the police. In the end, we called the police and they took them out because they were causing a disturbance. And then they eventually became initiated devotees. Others, it may be very difficult. There's one young lady in Abu Dhabi who's she seems to be very quiet and afraid of her family members, but when she got the opportunity at one point to be away from her family members, and she was distributing books like a tiger, but her family members have been very much against for many years, and she's just quietly practicing and going on with her Krishna consciousness. And gradually, slowly, they're becoming a little more accepting. So there's no one formula. Patience is good. I mean, the one way is the full-out battle. But actually, even Prahlad didn't do that. Prahlad Maharaj, I mean, however bad your parents, you might think your parents are, they're not as bad as Hiranyakashipu. That's for sure. And however great you may think you are, you're not as great as Prahlad Maharaj. That's also for sure. So Prahlad, he was very frank and open with Hiranyakashipu, but at the same time, he was respectful. He referred to his father as Asura Varya, the best of the demons. So maybe Hiranyakashipu liked being called that. My dear father, you are the biggest demon in the whole universe. So he may think that, that's good. For him, he might think that was a compliment. So Prahlad tolerated. He didn't fight against his father. He always wished him well, even though his father was a big demon. Often, young devotees are very immature in dealing with their parents also. So it's good to take advice from senior devotees. I mean, even Nanda Kumar, his father and mother are devotees, initiated devotees for so many years, but even they thought he was a problem case at one time. So he was devotee, but he didn't like to listen to his parents, and there was some kind of gap there. They came crying to me once, what to do with him? I said, just get him married, he'll be all right. And it worked. So, don't mind. That was a long time ago.
They know it quite as well themselves by
Is
now.
it? Yeah. So, I mean, the parents are upset, but usually, if parents are upset, they're not always upset. I mean, your parents weren't upset at you being a devotee. They were upset because you're a little flippant, and you didn't take your job very seriously, and this and that. So you can understand that actually they're thinking what's best for you. It's just that they have a different outlook on what's best for you, and they may be afraid that you're going to run away and forget them, and like this and that, which does sometimes happen. There are cases of young men running away from their parents and not communicating with them. But in general, that's not necessary. So like I say, there's no one formula, but in general, keep cool. If your parents are against your Krishna consciousness, then the more you... usually what happens is they won't like to listen to you preaching to them. They think, who is this? Just a few years ago we were breastfeeding them, and now they're telling us what to do. They remember you as a baby just a short time ago. but with patience. And if they see that you're a better person from Krishna consciousness, then they may start to accept it. So there's some general guidelines. And for individual guidance, you can speak to some local devotees according to your own particular circumstances, because every single circumstance is different. Every person is different. Their particular problems are different. Like that. Anyway, whatever you do, go on chanting Hare Krishna. So, anyone like to ask any more question about this? See, often in these individual situations, to understand it, you have to go very deeply and talk and this and that. But many times, if you just keep a cool head and go on chanting Hare Krishna, then things work themselves out in course of time. Often, anyway. Often people come and tell me their problems, but I'm not that interested actually to go into all the details, and he said that, and then she did this, and he did that, and then this, and that, and that, and this, and that, and then someone else comes and they tell you a completely different version of the story from their perspective, and you can't work all these things out. It's too complicated. It's better just, whatever's going on, just don't take yourself too seriously. Take Krishna seriously. Chant Hare Krishna. And you get into all these, complicated. Like I say, he said this, and then I think he has some plan to do this, and just so much mental energy just wasted on nothing. Actually, a lot of time just some distrust, and it's just not worth it. Don't get into a mental trip. Just chant Hare Krishna and keep a little aloof also. So you see, smaran nityam anityadvam. Everything in this world is temporary, so why take situations so seriously? People say, they get in some argument and they take it so, and they commit suicide or something. They take it so seriously. But what's the big thing, There's millions of people in the world and they all have their problems. Why take your own problems so seriously? It's not such a big thing. So many people come to me and say, I have these terrible problems, but I always tell them, whatever it is, it could be worse. And whatever it is, you can be sure there are plenty of other people with much worse problems. Now, what's your problem? And then blah, 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 blah. And say, well, anyway, whatever you do, or even if you do nothing, if you come back in 10 years, it's all going to be finished and forgotten anyway. So chant Hare Krishna and be happy. That's the best advice. And I think, well, that's not very useful. We thought we'd get it. It is very useful. It's the best advice. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Best advice. It's not just some formula that we say to avoid problems. It is the solution to all problems. It's not just some slogan, but it's a fact. You chant Hare Krishna and you'll be happy. And the more you try to disentangle the knotty problems, the more the problems become, the more entangled you get. Yes, so Hare Krishna. Does anyone want to? Yes, but what about if, my father says this and then my mother, I'm not sure if she supports me or not, sometimes she dies. Hare Krishna. That's our reply. Our reply is Hare Krishna. Yeah, anyone like to venture any other comment? Yeah.
Imagine some situations where the parents are also devotees and they're trying and forcing too much.
Parents are devotees and they're pushing their children too much to be devotees. Is it? What does too much mean?
Basically, if the child is not, not wanting to chant,
Not inclined.
not inclined to chant 16 rounds.
Not inclined to chant 16 rounds. Are you that child? Well, I would say, if you're asking from the youth point of view, I'd say, follow it, do it. Better. It's good advice. Or you're looking forward to being a parent in that situation. Again, it's just like the children, they shouldn't be too much forceful with the parents. If the parents force the children to chant, then they'll resent it. On the other hand, if there's no pressure and they just let them do what they like, then they're not doing their duty as a parent. So again, there's no one formula. Each one has to see. As I mentioned in this book, Glimpses of Traditional Indian Life, near to Udupi, I was in a home, some Madhva Brahmanas, and one man told me that my father used to beat me to force me to learn Vishnu Sahasranam. I'm so grateful now that he did. Seems like he was naughty in his youth, he didn't like to, but now he's grateful. So you can't tell. It depends a lot on the culture also. It's like in the West, the children, they really don't like to be told anything by their parents. Whereas in India, it used to be that the children were very subservient to their parents. Now the Western culture is coming in more and more. I see some horrible things that students or youth read on their T-shirts. I saw one the other day, parents for sale, something like this. And, really horrible. And then I saw, as we were stuck in the traffic jam last night, some T-shirt in the shop. I love my attitude problem. Something like so. People taking pleasure in being demons. But in the old culture, or the actual culture, parents could push their children a lot and they would accept that. By the modern culture, the children are being raised as demons. So, what do you expect? Actually, modern society makes everything very complex. In previous society, everything was very clear and fixed. Everyone's position is clear. What is your role as a child? What is your role as a parent? What is your role as a husband, as a wife? What is your role as a Brahmana, as a Kshatriya, as a Vaishya, as a Shudra? Everything's very clear. In the modern age, nothing is clear. Everyone's confused. No one wants to follow anyone. And it's just a big mess. Otherwise, parents should... But actually, push, there should be no need to push, because if the parents are practicing Krishna consciousness and enjoying it, then naturally the children will want to follow. Isn't it? It's just a natural thing. In a traditional society, it's a natural thing. You don't have to talk about girls and women being treated as mothers. It's just automatic. From the age of 4 or 5, the young girls start looking after the next babies. And, they grow up. At an early age, they have children. So the mother role is, it's just automatic. But now, they're beauty queens and career girls, and they're lost their, they don't know what they are. They're trying to be men, and then at the same time, they want to be mothers, and it's just a big mess. The whole society is just a big mess. So, it does become very complex. So, what's the solution? Re-establish Varnashram. Live simply. Live simply means not just in terms of... It doesn't just mean not having electricity. It means the whole culture becomes very simple. Life in the material world is always complex, but modern society has made it so complex that everyone's crazy, really. The more developed the countries are, so-called, the more crazy the people are. In traditional societies, you don't have all this schizophrenia and depression and hypertension. It's just not there. There are a few crazy people, but they're just, they're just normal crazy. They're not driven crazy by the whole. It's not that society drives them crazy. They're just born like that. So, in a culture where everyone's Krishna conscious, it's very natural to be Krishna conscious. Yeah, anything else before I move on? No? All right then.
I have one question to the relevance to them. Many times our current day circumstance, people don't see the importance of traditional.
People don't see the importance of attire or traditional attire. We can chant and do whatever, whether we're wearing a jeans and t-shirt or how does it make a difference is the attitude.
That's a detail. People don't see the importance of traditional life whatsoever. Basically, the modern age, it's a massive experiment, because people didn't live like this until a very short time ago. What floor are we on? The 6th floor? Yeah. There was no 6th floor ever, anywhere, until recently. What to speak of 15th floor, 20th floor, 100th floor you get in some countries. I think they went over 200 in some places. There was no such thing. And the whole... See, in the modern age, people say, oh, our society is so progressive. In the past, they were so backward and all this. But it's an experiment in which people, they propagate that it's much better. But actually, like you see, people, the character is very poor. Lying, stealing, cheating are common. You can't trust even your own family members. It's considered normal, and it's encouraged by the state that mothers kill their children. There's killing mothers is extremely common. About 80,000 a day in India. So it's a very sinful and demoniac society. But people think this is normal. So the dress of a Vaishnav, that helps us to identify with this pure way of life and consciousness, whereas the modern dress, that simply by wearing it, that we feel, if we dress in the modern dress, then we feel like part of the modern society, which is driven by Kam, Krodh, Lobh, especially these three. The whole modern dress is just an advertisement. I am a lusty, greedy, angry rascal. That's what it is, right? That's the hairstyle, the dress. You see these advertisements with the cricket players. You don't see, but in India you see advertisements, big billboards, and they're all looking mean and nasty. Why? Why should they look mean? But that's considered something. If you look, they've got this look on their face like they're really nasty. They probably aren't, actually, because Indian people in general aren't mean and nasty. Just see the music. It's mean and nasty music. Really, isn't it? Now you got embarrassed. Okay, someone knew how to turn it off. Okay, you can just by the sound of that, what's called, it's not even music, it's just some horrible noise. But it's conscious. It's low consciousness, isn't it? By hearing that, could you understand? That very sound, it's on a very low level of consciousness. And that's called music. And people like to hear that because it reinforces their being in the lower modes of nature. So everything, dress, the kind of music we make or listen to, the kind of people we associate with, the kind of food we eat, the kind of life we live, that reinforces and nourishes our identity, so we can identify with the lower modes of nature and be dambho darpabhimanascha krodha parusham evacha agyana cha bhijatasya partha sampadam asurim. These are the qualities of the demons which are considered in modern society. These are considered something very good. What is that? Pride, conceit, arrogance, harsh speech, ignorance. These are the qualities with which the demons are born. Now, something just flashed into my mind from about, let me see, must be over 40 years ago. Sitting in a room with my mother and my sister, one of my sisters, and there was a film on the TV, and two people were arguing, and then one shouted at the other, "You stink," and walked out and slammed the door. And my mother said, "Oh, that's horrible." And my sister said, "No, it's nice." Something like that. So you can see that's what they call the generation gap. My mother was trying to be good, but my sister thought, "Yeah, that's great, you know." "You stink." So that's the modern culture. They delight in degradation. So as little as we have to do with this society, the better. It's better not to take pleasure in that. So you can chant Hare Krishna wearing whatever you like. But if we're serious to be Krishna conscious, then we'll adopt all those things that will help us to actually be in Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. So I'll finish there and zoom off to the next place. It's Krishna consciousness in many parts of the world is practiced in a way which seems to be in consonance with the local modes of nature. Like here everything's very passionate and rushed. So here we're rushing from program to program. But it would be nice if you could imagine just to live very simply, stay in one place, rise every morning, chant Hare Krishna with devotees, leisurely discuss Srimad Bhagavatam, do our service, have plenty of bhajan and kirtan, nowhere to go, nowhere to run to, nothing urgent. Last time I was in California, I was in a temple in Berkeley, which is near to San Francisco. So one godbrother of mine, who I knew from India, he'd been living up in the hills, growing vegetables with a few devotees, living very simply, chanting Hare Krishna. But sorry to say, there was some, you might say, some managerial dispute in our Berkeley temple, or as it's sometimes called, ISKCON politics. So he was called, because he was a senior devotee, to get involved in that. You have to get involved, you have to campaign, you have to write letters, do this and that. He told me I was doing that. Then I thought, what's the point? I've got more important things to do. My vegetables are growing, I have to go and chant Hare Krishna to them. I have to sleep under the stars and get up in the morning and chant Hare Krishna. This will all go on. I don't need to be involved in this. I can just chant Hare Krishna very peacefully and be happy. It doesn't matter. All the world will go on. But our real duty is to chant Hare Krishna, live peacefully and be happy. So now I'm rushing off to the next program. So, alright, good. It's nice. There are many people who like to hear about Krishna. But you can imagine if you like. You can imagine. You have no experience of what it might be like to live peacefully and chant Hare Krishna morning and evening, not be rushed, nowhere to go to, no tension. The people, you see the same people every day, just very peacefully chanting Hare Krishna. That would be nice. What do you think? Do you think you could live like that? You think you could wind down from the highly intense way of life and just be happy to live a regulated, peaceful life? Do you think you could actually live peacefully? Any of you? You think you could do it? It might be difficult for you because we're so used to living such a wired up life. It's like an addiction or intoxication. We need adrenaline. That's maybe why people listen to this heavy rock music. Bam, ba bam, ba bam. It's like they have to get some more adrenaline pumped in. And always needs some sense gratification. That's why tea, coffee, gudka, chewing gum. It's just, there has to be something on the tongue all the time. It's just cigarettes. Should always be some flavor on the tongue. There should always be something resembling or vaguely resembling music in the ear. It's like all the time, stimulus. Just, you can relax also and chant Hare Krishna. Okay, well, I better rush off and dovetail this Rajasic propensity and